Hey builders, missed some hardcore blockchain updates? We got your back. Today we're talking about Fusaka, Glamsterdam and Hegotá. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And more importantly, what Ethereum upgrades actually mean for builders in our industry. My name is Sergey and I'm DevRel at GetBlock. This is our new show, Running Web3, episode 6. Let's get started. Before we get to Glamsterdam and Hegotá, it's worth recapping what Fusaka actually changed in Ethereum. One major part of Fusaka was peer-to-peer data availability sampling that makes blob scaling more realistic without pushing node requirements too far. Fusaka also introduced block parameters only forks. Ethereum now treats blob scaling as something that should evolve more flexibly between major upgrades, and Fusaka finally increased the default gas limit from roughly 45 million to 60 million. Fusaka gave Ethereum more room to carry work. Glamsterdam shows Ethereum shifting from add more room to organize the system better. If Fusaka was mainly about scaling and giving layer 1 a bit more execution headroom, Glamsterdam is about something deeper. How blocks get built and how execution gets prepared before the block even runs. Ethereum's roadmap lists two headline features of Glamsterdam: enshrined proposer builder separation or ePBS and block level access lists or BALs. Let's start with ePBS. Ethereum describes ePBS as separating block agreement from processing and natively integrating builders so validators can safely outsource block assembly. For builders, that matters because block inclusion and broader MEV environment may become more protocol-shaped and less dependent on external coordination layer. This is not a direct smart contract feature, but it absolutely changes wallets, trading systems, and infra products live inside. Then there are BALs. Ethereum says block-level access lists will introduce mandatory access lists at the block level, not just per transaction. The goal is to map dependencies upfront for faster syncs, while also lowering gas for state-heavy applications and improving gas cost predictability. That is where Glamsterdam becomes especially relevant for builders. Because it's not just protocol plumbing, Ethereum is actually trying to get execution more structured. So the shortest way to think about Glamsterdam is this. Fusaka helps Ethereum carry more. Glamsterdam helps Ethereum organize how that work gets done. Hegotá matters even before its final full scope is actually locked in, because it shows us what Ethereum sees as unfinished business even after Glamsterdam. If Glamsterdam is about making execution and block production more structured, then Hegotá is where Ethereum continues even harder conversation about neutrality, inclusion, and censorship resistance. The clearest signal here is FOCIL, Fork Choice Enforced Inclusion Lists. Inclusion is one of the deepest tensions in Ethereum today. As block building becomes more specialized and as proposer-builder separation becomes more formalized, Ethereum gets efficiency. But it also has to think more seriously about who gets to decide what makes it into a block. FOCIL is one attempt to deal with that. At a high level, the idea is that to give the fork choice process some ability to enforce transaction inclusion expectations. That is a builder-relevant question, not just a core dev one, because if Ethereum changes how inclusion guarantees work, then the assumptions behind wallets, transaction routing, MEV-related infrastructure, and even user expectations can all shift with it. So the shortest way to think about Hegotá is following. Glamsterdam is about structure, Hegotá is about fairness under the new structure. So what should builders actually watch as Hegotá and Glamsterdam get closer? First, watch where Ethereum puts its architectural attention. They point to the next set of priorities. How blocks are built, how execution becomes more structured, and how Ethereum protects neutrality as block production gets more specialized. So if you're building wallets, TradeFi system, and actually almost anything on Ethereum, pay attention how these upgrades may change, because those changes affect the environment where your product actually runs in. And the third is actually why having a reliable infrastructure partner matters. As Ethereum's architecture keeps evolving, builders need infrastructure that is not just fast, they need someone stable, flexible, and at the same time ready to adapt with the network. And that is where GetBlock fits naturally. That's all for today, mates. Thank you for your attention and time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and check out our social media platforms. My name is Sergey, and I'm DevRel at GetBlock. See you in the next episode of Running Web3.